Okay, so I am going to be telling you how I made my DIY bouquet for my wedding. So this is how it turned out. The colors that I was going for this bouquet was kind of a pale blue, some pale yellows, and a little bit of green, and of course I had to throw my little bit of sparkly in here or there. So what I did first was I went and I picked out the flowers that I liked and arranged them in this order. I went, and these are just little pieces that have stem on them, the little sparklies, and I took and I taped them to the edge of the flower. So I would have went right here and taped it and then bent them the way I wanted, and I got most of these flowers on sale and with coupons at Michael's or Joann Fabrics. And I also got the little sparkly things at Michael's as well. And so once I did that, I arranged them high, like I taped the little sparklies in, you know, different areas kind of to give it a sparkly look. I then took tape, and I originally tried to take the green, you know, tape that's meant for flowers, and it just doesn't stick and it just kind of sucks. So then I took a I want to say like a packing tape. It was like a tan color, and I wrapped it all the way around until they were held really, really tight. So then I took my ribbon and I took about an inch, and I hot glued the edge to the front, then I hot glued the back to the, actually this is technically the back because I have a seam right here, but I hot glued, and I just took it and went underneath and hot glued it because I was really weird about how I wanted the bottom of my bouquet to look. So once I did that, I continued to take the ribbon and I would just wrap. I would put a little bit of hot glue, then I would wrap. Then I'd put a little bit of hot glue, and then I'd wrap. And I did that once up and then once back, and I just hot glued, and I made sure all of my seams were in this back. But I did put this sparkly over top, so to me it wasn't such a big deal showing the seams since I added this. And what I did was I got this huge roll. Didn't realize it was this big when I was ordering it, but what I did was cut it, and see, it has little things and you can cut between them. So what I did here was cut it to fit where I would slightly have a seam, but it's not super noticeable, and it does overlap slightly, but I cut it at a slight angle so that the overlapping wouldn't be very bad and that you wouldn't really be able to tell. And all I did was wrap it around. I put a little of the glue basically just in the back where the seams were, and it is nice and secure. So what I decided to do after that was to add a little accent. I took, and this is just as wide as my yellow ribbon is. I didn't do any trimming or anything like that. And I took and I just wrapped it probably about 5 times. And I would just put, and I always put, when I put glue down to hold that layer while I was wrapping, I always put it in the back because this is where I'm going to hold it, and that is why I have the seam right here. So I would wrap tight, and I'd put a little bit of hot glue. I'd wrap again, and I wrapped it 5 times because I did not want it to be see-through, and the ribbon I used was slightly kind of see-through. And then when I got to the end, I cut it off, and then I cut a small piece of ribbon, and I took both sides and I put glue and I folded over the edges and then glued it over my seam so that it would have a nicer, kind of more finished look. And that is how I made my own DIY bouquet. It's really not that hard. You just really need to get flowers that you like, arrange them in whatever order that you think is prettiest. Tape those bad boys up. You can use different styrofoam products and that kind of thing too if you want to just stick them out to give, you know, stick them down in there to kind of give you a shape and wrap that. I've seen people use like toilet paper kind of tubes, like paper towel tube kind of things, and they wrapped those and did that and then stuck their bouquet down in that, and that gives you a nice finished rounded look at the bottom if that really bothers you. So my main thing with the sparkles was the way I did this bottom. The bouquet is kind of thin, so I didn't like how the bottom was just very, very skinny. And that is why I wrapped the shiny around it, to give it a more rounded look at the bottom. So it's really not that hard, and if you're thinking about DIYing your own bouquet, I would say go for it. It's really, really fun, and that way you know that you're getting exactly what you want, and you can play around, you can add sparkles, you can just do whatever different accents, that kind of thing. So thank you for watching my explanation of how I made my own bouquet.